Hey, my name's Cara, and welcome to my competitive esports journey. This episode's going to be very, very exciting. Competitive Grand Strategy is back, and I'm back to playing it for the first time in like a year or two at least. In the past, I felt really burnt out after my last competitions, to be honest. I played in Speed 5's, may they rest in peace, CK3 and EU4 competitions a year or two ago, but today I came back to it. Thanks to Lath and the Red Hawk and Midgeman for reestablishing it in the form of Para Bellum. And I signed up for the qualifiers. Para Bellum is a closed EU4 1v1 matchup tournament that pits EU4 pros against each other, and I guess also people like me. You each play on separate instances of EU4, but you have a challenge, and whoever wins the challenge wins that game. I literally lost every single past EU4 game I competed in up to this date, and I actually won one. And now, again, these are the qualifiers, but that really lingered with me. It haunted me for a long time. I never thought I would do it again. And it's not even because I care too much about EU4. Like, I like it. I play it sometimes just for fun. It's not even because I'm ultra competitive either or anything like that. Like, I am a little bit, but not too much. It's mostly because I want to prove myself in the Paradox scene. Like, I want to prove that I belong, that I'm here, and that women can be just as neurodivergently addicted to these games as men can be, I guess. I shouldn't say it like that, but you know, in the Paradox scene, there's been a lot more girls playing these sorts of strategy games lately. Like Lady Saffron even competed in this competition too, which is cool, but there's still a huge stigma about it, right? About women playing these games and being decent at them. So with my determination and sheer force of will, I wanted to prove that I could compete too. I could scrap a little. So when Lath invited me to join Para Bellum, I kind of questioned it a bit, but then I decided that no, I should sign up and get back into the new competitive grand strategy scene. Rest in peace, Speed 5. We will miss you. I joined this tournament. I had to win a qualifier to really get into the actual tournament, which is fair enough because I've lost every single EU4 game before. My goal, honestly, was just to win one game. A single game. And I thought I could probably do it this time because it's the qualifiers. I played a lot more EU4 since the last time I was in a competition. I'm still not great, but I have more skills. And like, really, how hard can a qualifier be for a YouTuber closed tournament sort of thing, right? Granted, I'm not the best EU4 player ever. I very famously only learned it a few years ago. I still only have about 500 hours in it, which, yeah, isn't a lot for EU4. But I do like it a lot. I'm pretty familiar with how it works now, much more so than before. And I figured I could take on a qualifier. Like, how hard would that possibly be? Until I found out way harder than I expected. Oh my god. I was playing against a person named the Playmaker. That's already an intimidating name. And he is a lion in the EU4 community. I don't know what that means, but it sounds right. He has a good YouTube channel and stuff too. You can check him out. He played a great game too. But my girlfriend warned me. She said, "Oh, the Playmaker. He's really good at EU4. So she was trying to be nice and sweet about it and help me not get my feelings hurt or whatever. She said something like, he's really good, he's a pro, he knows a lot of tactics, he only plays EU4 if you look at his channel, he's obsessed with it, and he probably has like 5,000 hours in the game or something. So I probably literally have like 1/10 of the amount of time that he has in EU4, which is intimidating, to be sure. So she was trying to like very kindly let me know that it's okay to just do your best, Cara. I still love you. I understand why she didn't believe I could beat him either. I was questioning it too, but I never quit on a challenge. And I decided that this time I'm here to win or die trying. The way that this tournament works, this EU4 tournament works, is that the competitors basically hop in a call, hop in the server to get ready, make sure that their like cameras and microphones are working and stuff, that they can set up their games. And then we only get the actual challenge about 30 minutes or so before we actually start playing, because quote unquote, they want to be evil about it. They're like, we could give you more time, but we won't because we hate you. I honestly think it's a really interesting format. I don't know if I love it or if I hate it. So basically, you can't prepare. You can't train for this. You don't get it like a day or two in advance, like how Speed 5 used to do it. You get it on the spot. And the day before, a couple days before I opened up E4, I like played around for like a couple hours, just like a few years and some random nations. But you can't really train for this. It needs to be intuitive. It needs to be invented on the spot based on your past EU4 knowledge. So that's a challenge on its own too. So knowing all of that, we get ready to join the live stream. And while the last two competitors finish up, it was Lady Saffron and the student playing a challenge to get as many missions completed as Byzantine as possible, as the Byzantine Empire. As it turns out, the student just barely ended up beating Lady Saffron right at the end. Like literally Lady Saffron was winning the whole time and then he just barely pulled out a victory. While all of that's wrapping up, we get told what our challenge is. Our challenge was to have as many unique trade goods in our nation as possible. You might not understand fully what that means yet, but I'll explain it in a bit. We asked, does that apply to just the nation itself or to tributaries and vassals? Because that's important. You can have vassals in EU4. And they clarified, only the nation itself, only those trade goods count. A trade good in EU4 is a good, like that people traded in real life, like wheat or copper or cows or whatever. And each province only has one. Some of them are a lot more common than some other ones. Like some of them can only be found in the New World, so you can't get there until you colonize the Americas, that sort of thing. And each trade good gives you certain modifiers. Like if you develop a province with gold, it gives you more money. If you develop a province with wheat, it gives you more supply limit. Like you can station more troops there without them dying. So like that's interesting. It's not really that important for the challenge. The important thing to note is that variety is what matters. The important thing to know is that some of them are much more rare than others. Each province only has one, and the variety of them that you have is the thing that counts. So if you have 100 cow provinces, that's still only 1 point. If you have 100 cow provinces and 1 wheat province, that's 2 points. You see what I mean? So now that we knew our goal was to have as many unique trade goods as possible in our nation, we both got to preparing with the short, limited time that we had. I only had about 20 minutes or so after like getting set up and getting ready to join the stream. Me and my girlfriend start trying to figure this out because I asked for her help of like, what do I do? Like I do often. So since each province only has 1 trade good, there's not that many nations that have a good variety of them. But the more provinces a nation has, the more likely they are to have a wider variety of trade goods, like obviously. So we rushed to open up E4, we look around the map a bit. I got a little bit angry at my girlfriend because she just gave me the wrong command to reveal the entire map. But that's my bad. I was stressing. I was freaking out. I love my girlfriend very much. She's a sweetheart. And I was freaking out about what to even do. Huge time crunch. And then we saw it. Ming. It starts as the most development in the game at game start. Ming has 19 different trade goods, which I think is the highest number of unique trade goods of any nation, but I haven't checked. Okay, I checked. It's actually Ulm. That's a lie. It's not Ulm. They only have 1 province. It's not them. But Ming has 19 of them. Like, they have so many unique trade goods at game start that I thought if I could just collect a few more trade goods that they didn't have, and there were a few more in the area that you could pick up just by declaring wars of conquest, I had a pretty decent chance of winning. In the area, there's furs, ivory, and wool. There's some glass further away. If you make it far enough in the game to get the idea of exploration. You can even colonize an area that has onions. So, like, there's clearly a lot of potential here. And I decided that this has to be the right strategy. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It'll be easy. It'll be simple. It's optimal. It's perfect. Too perfect. Like, I had this horrible fridge moment, this realization where it was like, if it was this obvious for me to figure out what the right strategy is here, there's no way that my opponent, the Playmaker, hasn't also figured out the same strategy too. So that's kind of a scary thought. And it's a scary thought because since we're each playing in our own instances of EU4, both of us can just pull up the same nation. And whoever could just play this strategy the best and get the most of the scattered trade goods around and mess up the least would end up winning. At least I assumed. So I was feeling pretty defeated at this point. I was like, there's one right approach and we're both going to take it. I'm going to do my best, but like, I'm not the most precise technical EU4 player. Sometimes it takes me a lot of time and clickies to do the right actions, Sometimes I lose my battles because I'm too ADHD to pay attention to all of my armies at the same time. Sometimes I forget to declare wars when the treaties run out. I sort of panic when I can't pause and unpause the game freely. Like, I'm human, it happens. And besides for that, I don't even know how the mandate screen works. I don't think I've ever even tried to play Ming before. This would be my first time really playing it, at the very least. The one thing I know about Ming is that they always start the game really strong, and then later on they always explode. Like, the AI can never keep control of Ming for longer than like 50 years. And I didn't know why. I was worried that there's like a series of catastrophic events coming that I didn't know how to navigate because I've never played a Ming before. So all of that was weighing pretty heavy on my mind. But I didn't really have time to figure it out either. I didn't have time to overthink it because, again, we had less than half an hour to figure out what the right play was here. Great. So that was sort of my worried train of thought. I can do my best, but I'm probably going to get kicked out of the qualifiers and lose a competitive EU4 game again. And I was upset. I was stressed. I was angry. I thought maybe I wouldn't get to prove myself after all. Maybe I'd always be a loser. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Because when I said that picking the same strategy was obvious, maybe it wasn't that obvious. As it turns out, I only found this out really after the dust settled. Like, I didn't understand it at the time, like during the stream. That the Playmaker actually picked a way different strategy than I was and I expected him to. It was a strategy that, in theory, if played perfectly, if he had time to do everything he wanted to do, would have given him way more trade goods than I could have taken with Ming, at least a couple more. But it was also a strategy that was super complicated. Like, there's a lot of things that had to go right for it to work, and I still don't really understand how it works, but I will try to explain more of it later. Basically, he had a different approach than I expected. The ball was kind of in his court, and all I could do was play Ming and try not to mess up too bad. In my mind, like, it's kind of that he was flexing on us. Like, he's so good at EU4, like, why not try like the super complicated strategy so that I can show off a bit? Maybe. I don't know what he's like, honestly, but I'm sure he's a good guy too. So while in my mind, during this event, we were racing to the finish in a pretty straightforward competition, he was doing like a 15-dimensional galaxy brain, non-Euclidean trigonometry in E4 on me. And I'm not even exaggerating, the strategy is insane. Ultimately, it would end up being his downfall, but I respect the attempt. All I had to do was keep it simple, just play Ming and not mess up too bad. Well, we start getting into the game after throwing together the most obvious strategy ever and getting myself all worried about it. And while he's going galaxy brain before the event begins, I guess, Lady Saffron and the student finish up their match, give some last remarks, and then it was time. I heard the Playmaker give some opening remarks and say that he was like really confident about winning. Like, they asked him, how confident are you that you can win? And he said, 10 out of 10 confident. So that kind of freaked me out. And then afterwards, it was my time to come on. I was definitely more nervous. Like I was kind of like trying to shake out my nervousness. I was stimming. I shared a bit of my plan, and then they asked me how certain I was that I would win. I lied. I said I'm 10 out of 10 confident. I was not 10 out of 10 confident. But I pretended to be confident enough to hopefully like give myself the motivation to do my best. Fake it until you make it, I guess. And so with that, we loaded into our games, and way sooner than I expected, they told us, go, the race begins now. So we got started. An hour started ticking down for both of us. I got to work messing with my estates, getting some advisors, you know, doing the basic setting up your EU4 game sort of stuff, seizing land. And then right afterwards, I rushed a war with Oirat to get some furs from Mongolia. I really did play as quickly as I could, but I also found out that the fastest I could go with how our games were set up was a measly speed 3. If you normally play E4, you probably play it on speed 4 or maybe speed 5 sometimes. Anytime I tried to go faster than speed 3, it would immediately kick me back down to speed 1 because we were hosting multiplayer games, but just so that the hosts could look around and see what was happening independent of like our game view, like so they could look around on their own. The fastest I could go with my connection to the Red Hawk was speed 3. Great. But I've dealt with it in multiplayer games before. Basically, you just take it easy. You play as efficiently as you can, because any mistakes you feel for longer when you can only play at speed 3. You try to play efficiently, effectively, try not to blunder. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, and a lot of my army got wiped out really quickly because I was overwhelmed and I couldn't keep up with paying attention to it and where the enemies were. Fortunately, Ming has doom stacks of armies, and I was going to use all of its manpower and more. Plus, I only needed to get a few provinces in each war, so it's not like I had to try to push every war to 100%. I could just win some battles and take some land and get out of there as quickly as I could to recover. I won my first war. It was a pretty small war, but I made it harder than it needed to be, obviously. I won my first war by getting all my troops together, sending them all into Siberia to die. So much attrition, and taking a cool 3 provinces to give me my first. And about 15-20 minutes into the event, I was sitting at 20 trade goods. Now let's actually cover and explain what the Playmaker is doing over in his game at this point, because it's so crazy that I still honestly don't understand it, but I'm trying to, and it's kind of making my brain melt. So the Playmaker is trying to win his game by playing as a nation so out of nowhere, I could have never guessed it. He decided to play as the Ottomans, which on the surface of it doesn't make much sense. You only have 13 trade goods at the start as the Ottomans compared to Ming's 19. To be fair to the Playmaker, Ming isn't really that great for blobbing and expanding and taking the provinces to actually more trade goods, whereas the Ottomans are well known for blobbing. Like that's the main thing they do in EU4. Plus the Playmaker had this really weird strategy, like galaxy brain again. As the Ottomans were, before really doing anything, he started exploiting development, which made it easier for him to convert to orthodoxy. Why would you convert to orthodoxy as the Ottomans? So that you can convert back, obviously. It makes no sense, but that's the strategy. If you convert to orthodoxy and then convert back to Sunny and then convert to it and convert back from it over and over again, eventually it results in an exploit that gives you plus 200 opinion with every country on the map. It's ridiculous. The Ottomans also have a rare type of vassal called an islet. Yeah, basically they're easier to form, there's less restrictions on them, that sort of thing. So if you do that strategy and then you also use that to get a lot of vassals, you blob really quickly, like really, really quickly. Then after that, since the trade goods had to be in your own nation's borders, a tributary or a vassal didn't count. Since they like you so much, you can just ask for one of their provinces that has a trade good that you don't have and just take it for yourself, add it to your point total. Do you see how much more efficient that can be than just playing Ming and boringly conquering a few provinces over the course of an hour? I didn't, but that is an insane approach, and huge respect to him for trying that. Plus, afterwards, he explained that you can go colonial, you can buy some provinces in India, and since India is rolling in unique trade goods anyways, you can just get a foothold, buy some provinces, conquer more around India if you need to, have basically every trade good you can get in the game, at least without colonizing the new world. Super crazy strat. It's still like some type of black magic to me. But the thing is, it's really complicated. You kind of have to play it really efficiently, especially since we only had an hour. So he was doing the best he could with that. He was clicking away. He had macros set up to help him flip religions back and forth. And meanwhile, I was over in China having a really nice game in comparison. So much more chill, casually throwing away thousands of troops in the mountain provinces due to winter and attrition. I didn't care. I'm a good gamer. I play China. Chinese wars are some of the deadliest wars in human history. I'm just playing the game correctly and basically not playing the game super effectively, but still doing enough. I was able to get my second trade good pretty quickly, if at the cost of all of my manpower. And this is when things really start to heat up because, little to my knowledge, this is when the Playmaker started catching up in a really big way. Why was he able to catch up so much? Well, there's a few reasons. Again, I lost all my manpower, basically. I didn't realize it, but to get my third trade good that I could easily get through one war of conquest, I needed to release one of my tributaries. And if I was a better player, I should have done that at the start of the game. I also should have developed my gold province. I also should have bought down more of my corruption, but whatever. None of that was really what mattered right now. I had to release one of my tributaries, which gives you a truce with that tributary that lasts 5 whole years. And do you know how long 5 years lasts? At speed 3? So I had to wait 5 whole years for the truce to end. Like, you can break a truce, but you also lose 5 stability, and that's really bad for a lot of reasons. And with how unfamiliar I am with Ming, I didn't know if that cascade into the Ming explosion that we see from the AI basically every game. I had no idea. So I decided, like, I basically had to wait for 5 years. I didn't know if I even had time to wait for that. Like, I had no idea. Before I knew it, the time started ticking down more and more. I tried to do productive things. I developed some provinces. I tried to see if there were other trade goods that I could get, but not really. I tried to get exploration, but I didn't have time to do it at speed 3 to get exploration technology to send colonists out there to get onions. So I was not cooking. Before I knew it, the time ticked down more and more. And meanwhile, all while I'm basically just waiting for this truce to end, the Playmaker starts making more moves, moving his capital, setting up charter companies in India, or at least trying to, buying provinces and then changing his mind. I think, I don't really know 100% of what was happening there, but there is a lot of stuff happening. I'm sure he was overwhelmed too. And quite frankly, I didn't understand the tactical brilliance that he was displaying, catching up to me really quickly. And it all kind of came to a head in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the match. I had no idea how close he actually was, and the host didn't check it yet at this point either. But I was feeling super nervous. I could feel the energy shifting. The Playmaker shots were all starting to come together. He was closing in on my number of trade goods. He started at 13, and then before I knew it, he was already up to 19. But he was also running out of time. All of this really came to a head in the last 5-10 minutes. That's when it really all started to come together for him. We had 10 minutes and then 5 minutes, and then I was the one who was rushing all of a sudden. So just in a big effort to try to get one more trade good to do whatever I could, the one I could get before the game ended in the last few minutes, while the clock was running out, I was desperately trying to spam the speed up button and then being pushed back to speed 1 and then trying to speed it up again and getting pushed back to speed 1. I did that over and over again to try to force the game to let me play long enough so that I can make it past the 5 years, and after the treaty ended, take the last province with the trade good I needed. Ivory. Speed 5. You think back to speed 1, speed 5, back to speed 1. I really didn't want to run out of time before I could get this one last trade good. The connection cooperated just enough to literally give me like 3 minutes to declare an all-out war to take this one province. Now, it was a big war. They had a lot of allies, and I had to go all out. I spent the entire Ming treasury on mercenaries. I had like a 50k stack of mercenaries plus like 50k troops there, just to make sure I could overpower them and kind of swarm my way into it and play very not deliberately just to get those provinces. And it worked. I was able to snag one more province, one more trade good before time ran out. And that's basically all I could do. I had to let the cards fall where they would. Now the Playmaker is still trying to do stuff right at the end of the game too. He was currently in a war that would have given him 2 more trade goods. He was also about to get a couple more provinces that would have given him a couple more trade goods too. But I guess he just couldn't make it work. And he ran out of time. Like at this point, I turned on the stream and then I realized that he wasn't even playing Ming, like he was playing as the Ottomans. So I thought like he must have had some genius strategy to like beat me in the number of trade goods. And he basically did, but he just ran out of time. He really almost caught up to me too. Like there's a pretty good chance he could have won if he just had like 5-10 more minutes. In the end, he had 19 trade goods and I had 22. With the war that he almost won to take a couple more trade goods he didn't have, he would have had 21 and I still would have had 22. But if he bought the couple of provinces or got them from his vassals that he was trying to, he very easily could have had 1 more trade good than me. So it was super close. Lath kind of said it best here. He honestly played better and he showed the most skill, but he probably just overcomplicated the opening, kind of trying to flex on us. So I guess the lesson here is keep it simple. Street smarts versus book smarts. Okay, I'm done making this like a lesson or whatever. Thank you for watching. I'm super happy I get to be part of Para Bellum. I'll be on there every Wednesday for the next few weeks, competing in more EU4 1v1 matches, doing my best. Thanks a bunch to all the channel members, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.